Cat in the Hat Comes Back by Dr. Seuss. So I'm going to try this out with you. I will read some sentences, and I will say the words, and then you repeat them back to me.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And you're listening now with the array?
That's right.
Okay. So now I will read. This was no time for play.
This is no time for play.
This was no time for fun.
This was no time for fun.
This was no time for games.
This was no time for games.
There was work to be done.
There was work to be done.
Next page. All that deep, deep snow.
All that deep, deep snow.
All that snow had to go.
All that snow had to go.
When our mother went down to the town for the day,
When our mother went down to the town for the day,
she said, somebody has to clean all this away.
she said somebody has to clean all this away.
Somebody has to, you see.
Somebody has to, you see.
Then she picked out two somebodies, Sally and me.
And then she picked out two somebodies, Sally and me.
Well, there we were.
So there we were.
We were working like that, and then who should come up but the Cat in the Hat?
We were working like that, then who should come up but the Cat in the Hat?
Oh, Sally said,
Oh, Sally said,
don't you talk to that cat.
don't you talk to that cat.
That cat is a bad one.
That cat is a bad one.
That Cat in the Hat.
That cat in the hat.
Okay, now let's switch to the hearing aid.
Okay.
Okay, now you're on hearing aid.
I have it on the hearing aid now.
Yes, okay. He plays lots of bad tricks.
They play tricks with us.
Don't you let him come near.
Don't you let him come near.
You know what he did.
For I didn't get it.
The last time he was here.
Last time he was here.
Yeah. Play tricks, laughed the cat.
Play tricks, something.
Oh my, no, no, no.
Oh my, no, no, no.
I just want to go in.
I just want to go.
To go in.
To go in.
To get out of the snow.
To get out of the snow.
Keep your mind on your work.
Keep your mind something.
You just stay there, you two.
You just something. I didn't get it.
I will go in the house
I will go in the house
and find something to do.
and find something
To do.
to do.
Then the cat went right in.
Then the cat went right in.
He was up to no good.
I didn't understand.
So I ran in after,
So I ran in after
as fast as I could.
as fast as I could.
Now switch it to the array. Do you know where I found him?
Do you know where I found him?
You know where he was.
Do you know where he was?
He was eating a cake in the tub.
He was eating a cake in the tub.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
The hot water was on and the cold water too.
The hot water was on and the cold water too.
And I said to the cat, what a bad thing to do.
And I said to the cat, what a bad thing to do.
But I like to eat cake in a tub, laughed the cat.
But I'd like to eat cake in the tub, laughed the cat.
You should try it sometime, laughed the cat as he sat.
You should try it sometime, laughed the cat, as he said.
Okay, I think we're going to switch you back now. Back to your hearing aid.
Okay.
And then I got mad.
And then he came in.
This was no time for fun.
This was no time for fun.
I said, cat, you get out.
He said, can you get out?
There is work to be done.
There's work to be done.
I have no time for tricks.
Then there's, I didn't get it.
I must go back and dig.
Let's go back in.
I can't have you in here.
I can't have you in there?
Eating cake like a pig.
In the cake? I didn't get it.
Okay, switch back to the array.
Okay.
You get out of this house.
You get out of this house.
We don't want you about.
We don't want you about.
Then I shut off the water
Then I shut off the water
and let it run out.
and let it run out.
Okay, I think that's enough. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with Sherry Kramer, and I have Sherry's audiogram. And what I'd like to do is to hold this up and let you have a look at it. This was recorded by Dr. Pam Ball. And Dr. Ball, if you can come forward and give us an interpretation of what you see on the audiogram.
These are the low frequencies to the high frequencies, the soft sounds to the very loud sounds. Normal hearing extends from here down to 25. These symbols down here represent Sherry's actual hearing. This is Sherry's bone conduction. Sherry doesn't have any response by bone conduction. By air conduction, you can see the circles represent the right ear, the X's represent the left ear. The right ear has a little bit better hearing than the left ear, but Sherry's hearing is 90 decibels to greater than 110, pretty much all the way across. Sherry's speech discrimination for her right ear is 48 to 68% at 100 to 102 decibels stimulation, and then no measurable speech discrimination for the left ear.
I'm here today with Sherry Kramer, who is a hearing impaired subject, and she has been using an array device manufactured by Cardinal Sound Labs, and she's been using this for quite some time. Sherry, how long have you had this device?
Since the first device, it was about a year and a half ago that we started.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
The first device you had was a year and a half ago.
Right.
Okay, that's great. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your hearing loss history.
Okay.
But when did this happen? What's happened to you?
Well, my parents didn't discover that I was hard of hearing until I was about 11 years old. And I was having difficulty in school. At that time, they took me to the doctor, and I found out that I have otosclerosis. They did an operation on my left ear, and unfortunately it was not successful. I had a staphylectomy done, and after that my left ear consistently got worse until I graduated from high school. So for the time I was 11, I had hearing aids in both ears, and then when I was in college, my right ear got a little bit worse. My left ear went deaf, and when I was in my mid-20s, then I developed Meniere's disease, and so my right ear at that time was probably at about 65 dB, and then over the last 4 years has gone down to be about what it is now, which I think is about somewhere about 100 to 110 dB.
So now you've been wearing a hearing aid, and at the moment you have a behind-the-ear unit in one ear.
In my right ear.
In your right ear. And you were working and doing things like a normal person, using the hearing aid.
Right.
How did you find out about my work? And what made you want to try this device?
Well, I was very close to Mike Lair, who was a part of the project, and he let me know that you all were working on this array device, and it sounded very interesting. And of course, anything that might be able to help me, I'd be interested in trying. So then I had been introduced to you previously, so he said, well, why don't you come over and try this out? And I wanted to do that, and was truly
So
amazed.
you came to visit with
Mhm.
me one evening,
Right?
one afternoon, and we tried it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that very well.
Oh, yes.
And we took the device and put this on you, and you switched your hearing aid over to telecoil so that you can receive a signal
Mhm.
from the array. What was it like the first time? Can you remember? First time you heard a
I
signal?
was shocked. I
What-
was
what
truly
happened?
shocked, yeah. I remember walking around and wanting to hear different sounds. You know, I could hear a sound and I was like, what's that, what's that, what's that? Because I couldn't recognize any kinds of sounds, and I still do that to some degree. I'm still hearing things I'd never heard before in my life.
So you see, I think I remember something that we did. We went upstairs in my home. We went into the kitchen where there's a little TV set,
Mm-hmm.
and we turned that on to try out to see whether you can listen to the sound on the TV set. And I think you told me that without the array, and we tried it with your hearing aid alone, and you had some difficulty understanding the sound of the TV.
Yeah, absolutely. I have not been able to watch TV for years. Haven't gone to a movie in probably 10 years.
And then you
Uh,
tried
so-
the array, and what
When
did you
we
find?
did that, I was just amazed. I mean, it was incredible. I remember we were watching. I remember the show we were watching. Even it was very clear. I was following everything that they said. Whereas with my hearing aid, if the program is not showing the person on the screen that's talking, you can forget it. There's no way I'd be able to hear it. So primarily, I would have been reading lips. So with the array, it's very clear.
Let's see. I think I remember very well that time. We had only one device. But
The crude model for 3
when-
cars.
Yeah. But when we saw the effect that this had, it was very difficult for me not to let you walk out of the
I didn't
house.
I didn't want to leave it there. Please let me have it.
So that's what happened.
Yeah.
So you took it home with you.
Mhm. I
Mhm.
remember that we talked about me using it at work, and to try it out to see how it would go. And I went to work with it, and it was 3 pieces. It had the loop around the neck, and it had a little box, and
Oh, yes.
the one piece was kind of like a wooden thing, and I remember that I took it into the office, and everyone was like, what is that, what is that? But of course everyone knew that I had such difficulty hearing. It got to the point that first day, by the end of the day, everyone could tell the difference. And after a few days, if I didn't have it, then in talking to anyone in the office, they would say, well, wait a minute, where's your device? Where's your array? You know? And they wouldn't even talk to me until I had it, because it was such a drastic difference. For the first time in meetings, I could really participate. And my position was, at the time, I was an accounting manager at a firm in Cupertino that is a nationwide company. I was working in the,
How many people work for this company?
at the time, about 320 people.
About 320.
Yes, and
And you were doing accounting work for the firm?
I was the accounting manager, so I was responsible for several different areas: accounts receivable, accounts payable, payroll, and so it was very important for me to be able to communicate with people. And then I was, of course, a part of different management meetings, but I would get in a conference room with these other managers, and with just my hearing aid, by the time I figured out who was talking, somebody else would be talking. So I really was really ineffective. There's just no way that I could really participate. With the array, the people in my office were very, very supportive about it and understood the directionality. So they said, here, Sherry, you sit at the end of the table, and that way it's a long rectangular table, and that way I could take in everybody. And I was hearing everything. It was just incredible. And my career started turning around that year and being able to communicate a lot more effectively.
Let's see. At the conference table, do you constantly have to change your body position? Or
Because
do
the
you
conference
do
table
you do
was...
it do you do it without thought, or how does it work?
Well, because the conference table was a long rectangular table, I didn't find I had to do that because the array takes in at 90 degrees, and so being at the end of the table was able to hear everyone. Didn't have any trouble, didn't have to locate the person that was talking. I could tell what was going on. I started at that time in my career getting into making presentations more. We would have various district managers coming out from all over the country, and I'd have to make presentations. And it was a very interactive kind of thing where all of the people in the room would participate and ask me questions. There's virtually no way I could have done that before. Having the array enabled me to be able to stand up in front of a group of people and answer their questions. I had a secretary that was very good at basically letting me know what people were telling me. And I found that I didn't need to have that anymore. She was truly amazed. She said, wow, she heard that. Unbelievable.
That's amazing.
And it's really an incredible story because that year I started interacting with, very naturally, higher up people, the president of the company, various vice presidents of the company, and other managers. And they started getting more and more comfortable with me, whereas I would be in a meeting before and virtually useless. And because I couldn't hear what was going on, I wouldn't have anything that I could add to the meeting. And as a matter of fact, most of the time when someone was speaking to me before the array, there was another manager in the company that was very good at saying, Sherry, did you hear that? Or repeating it to me. It was almost like they certainly didn't mean it in a derogatory way, but it was obvious that I couldn't really communicate very well due to my hearing loss. So that year with the array, boy, that was just something I felt like my career started really turning the corner. And for the first time I was able to interact with people that before I shied away from. I didn't want to talk to these people because I thought they're going to think I'm an idiot because I can't hear. And by the end of the year, the company had major downsizing, and they decided to get rid of my boss. They laid him off. He was controller of the company, and they demoted the CFO, and they promoted me to be the controller and acting CFO of the company.
Good grief. How big is the company now?
We have about 450 people now.
And you're the CFO?
And I am the acting CFO of
Wow.
the company.
Ooh. I have to
Thank
salute
you very much.
I think that's wonderful. Now this device, you may not know, but this device gives a response between 1 and 4 kilohertz.
Mm-hmm.
The newer devices go down lower, but this frequency range just happened to be suited
Right.
to you. So I remember now the first device that we gave you.
Oh, I did
The
too.
electronics was in a package about the shape of a package of cigarettes,
That's right.
and that was a separate piece from the array.
Right. Nice
And,
to
and
flip it
the
on.
neck loop was a separate piece.
Mhm.
And now what you have, if we take a look here, this is all one piece. So here is the neck loop. All the electronics and batteries are in this package.
Mhm.
There's a volume control here and an on-off switch.
Mhm.
And there are adjustments that we can adjust the frequency response. And
Right.
we've tuned this
Right.
so that it's good for you.
The interesting thing was that with the original array, I had the different pieces, and it was much less attractive than this one. And yet, I didn't care. I did not care what it looked like. It worked. I could hear, and nobody else cared what it looked like. And I would come into my meetings, and I'd have all of these different pieces, and didn't matter to me. I know that you asked me a number of times, well, how would you like it to look? And now I think that I can answer some of those questions a little better. Before, I was just so stunned by the fact that I could hear. I did not care what it looked like. You gave me this one to use at work in March of last year, so that I didn't have to be carrying around the different pieces.
So that's almost a year ago.
Yeah.
Because now it's January,
Right.
so it's a month and a half less than a full year.
And I don't think that I know that I would not have been able to do as well in my job, the first year of my job of being controller and acting CFO of the company, without having this array. I know I told you about before I had the array with my hearing aid. I have to interact with a lot of people, and in the accounting department, there happens to be a number of foreign individuals. I've got some people that are from the Philippines, a couple people from Vietnam, several Spanish people, and I pretty much had a difficult time communicating with them because I relied on reading lips, and if you add the accent on top of that, they've moved their lips differently. And so I had a terrible time in
So
understanding
this was
that.
quite difficult for you.
Oh, absolutely. They'd come in and they'd say something, I would just look at them. I have no
So
idea.
what did you do about it?
Well, most of the time I had my secretary come in and interpret it for me.
And she would hear what they say,
And then
she
she'd
would
tell me
speak to
what
you.
they said.
and you didn't have so
And
much
it-
trouble. You can
But
understand her.
it was demoralizing in a way to them because they're coming to talk to the boss, and then the boss can't hear them, and it did not allow me to manage as effectively as I could be. So that was one of the things that I noticed almost immediately with the array and was so delighted about, is that I could communicate with these people. I no longer had to have my secretary be there to repeat what they said, and they were delighted as well. And I've got people now, even more people on my staff that are from different countries, and I don't seem to have the problem anymore.
What, you talked about the conference table that's rectangular and long. What happens, let's say that you go into a different building, a different place, or let's say you go to a business meeting at a bank or somewhere else,
And I do that frequently.
and you do that frequently, so that the rooms are different shape and different sizes, and the conference table is different. How do you manage? Do you now know where to go in the room to position yourself?
I frequently move around. I'll kind of shift my body around so I'm facing the direction of the person that's talking. And then if another person's talking this way, I shift around that way and look. But I'm also getting quite good at strategically placing myself when I go in someplace.
Yeah.
I look at the table, where we're going to be sitting, and who's going to be speaking, and where I ought to be. That would work best with the array.
With the array, you're able to you can go into a restaurant and hear what people are saying, and you're able to follow a conversation, even in a noisy place to some
In
extent.
a restaurant, it's a little different. I have to look for things like windows, where the window is, because I want to make sure that a person isn't silhouetted against the window. But I
This is
was,
so that you can see the lips.
that's right,
Yeah.
but I'm more concerned even now that when I go to a restaurant, that if I place myself so that I'm facing the person and maybe they're back up against the wall or something. I don't want to be facing the person where I'm facing the entire restaurant. It would be a little bit more difficult than with the directionality. But I distinctly remember going to Fresh Choice. I think I told you about that, how I went to Fresh
Okay,
Choice.
right. Yeah.
And I remember
That
going to
is a
Toyo's.
busy, noisy restaurant.
But I was so excited because not only could I hear the person that I was with, but I could hear the people at the table next to me. I was eavesdropping for the first time in my life.
How did you do that? You had your James Bond machine.
Yeah.
You had to turn, but you could do it.
Mhm.
And hear people at the next table.
Mhm.
That's the damnedest thing.
That was incredible.
What is it like? Have you tried to take the device and go to the movies with it? Have you ever tried to do that?
I did try, and I went to see the movie The Firm with the first time I've gone to a movie, as I said, in over 10 years. And I can't say that I got every bit of it, but I certainly got enough to really understand the plot of the movie.
So you can enjoy the movie. What happens if you try to listen to music?
That is something that music has always been really important in my life, and I played the flute and the piano growing up, and I have not been able to listen to the radio since I was in my late teens, and with the device, I remember the first time that we tried it. You put on some piano music, do you remember? And
Yeah.
I could hear every single note.
I think I
I was
remember.
just astonished.
Yeah.
And I know you told me at the time, I wish I could have captured that look on your face.
It was amazing.
Oh, it was amazing. And now I listen to music all the time. I know that,
I know what you listened to. I remember.
yeah.
It was Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto number. I forgot which number, but I know who was playing it. It was a man named Vladimir Ashkenazy.
And I didn't
Beautiful.
want to stop. I could
Beautiful
just sit
recording.
there and listen to that
Yeah.
music all night long.
Yeah, incredible. Now, let me ask you this question. It's a little personal about the device. You know, when you wear it. First of all, does it feel like a weight around your neck? Is it heavy?
No, I never even noticed it.
See, the actual device that we're developing is going to be much, much smaller than that, much lighter. So you get used to feeling this thing around your neck?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. You know, as I used to take my hand up to my ear all the time to adjust my hearing aid, now I just come here and adjust
just
the
to
volume
hear.
as necessary. I just don't even notice it.
So what effect does wearing something like that? Does it make you feel funny? Does it hurt your self-esteem? Does it
No,
give you...
as a matter of fact, I think, for me anyway, because I've really never been self-conscious of the fact that I can't hear, I have found it to be really effective, because when I go into a meeting, say I'm meeting with some bankers, they know right up front, almost, and people are usually pretty upfront about it, say, oh, what is that? You know, and then they find it fascinating that I use it, and it's a way of saying, hey, I am hearing impaired, and maybe you need to take that into consideration, knowing that when you're communicating with me, but I, 9 times out of 10, have people tell me, I would never have known. And people don't seem to be bothered by it. And that may come from my own attitude. I don't care. It doesn't affect my self-esteem at all in having this right up there in front so people can see it. On the contrary, the fact that it's helped my life so much, and I can communicate so much more, I think that helps my self-esteem.
You know that most people are very, very sensitive about hearing and about wearing hearing aids.
Mm-hmm.
They like the tiniest hearing aid, the one that's the most invisible.
Yeah.
How do you think it'll be for other people
Mm-hmm.
who would have a device that's, let's say, smaller, more attractive than the one you have by far?
Mm-hmm.
And how acceptable do you think it would be for other hearing impaired people?
I think that anyone that has a significant hearing loss that impairs their ability to be able to communicate would weigh the fact that this is giving them a way to be able to communicate, and for the first time being able to hear things maybe they haven't been able to hear in a long time. I think that the fact you have it right out there in front and people can see it is something that I just can't imagine that someone would be that bothered by that. I know for me that I just absolutely love the fact that I can hear people now, and I can go to places I haven't been able to go in years. So it just doesn't matter.
One question I have for you. The question is, you seem to enjoy the device. You're getting tremendous amount of use out of it, and it seems to have a great effect on your ability to work and hold a job and high responsibility. So clearly the device is doing a lot for you.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it, with all the experience you've had with it now, you're the only person on this earth that has had such a device for any significant amount of time. You're the only one. But when you think about it, what can be done to improve it? What are the limitations of the device? What doesn't it do for you? Can you think of a circumstance under which it didn't give you quite what you wanted?
Mm-hmm.
And what would you think? What can we do to make it better?
I was in a cafe recently where I had was having a conversation, actually a business conversation with someone, and I had placed myself so that this person was up against the wall, so that all of the background noise, everything was really behind me, but there was a couple that was at an adjacent table, and I was hearing a lot of what they were saying. I was having a difficult time, and I think it would have helped me even more if I could have narrowed the field. I played around with it a little bit, and I turned it to my hearing aid, turning off the array, and I couldn't hear a thing. I mean, it's just noise. So there was no way that I could hear. The array was definitely helping me, but if I had had maybe a switch where I could narrow, so instead of going at 90 degrees, kind of narrow that field so that I could focus on the person that was directly in front of me, I think that would have helped me a lot in that situation.
So with a sharper beam.
Exactly.
But if it's too sharp,
Exactly.
then you have to keep moving your body, I guess.
Right.
But if you had a way to change it.
Right. Of
Now
going
this
from
one
this to
has
this.
about a 90-degree beam width,
Mhm.
and we can now make them sharper. We now
That
have
would
in
be
development
great.
much better devices.
That I think so.
You think
Yes,
that would,
because
that
I
would
think
help
there are
you?
certain situations where that could really be very helpful.
Now I'm going to ask you a strange question. What would happen if we took this away from you? Would you be willing? Would you be willing to give it up?
You can't have it.
What would life be like without it?
I can't. I think that it would not only affect my job, it would affect my personal life, my relationship, my all of my dealings with anyone. I cannot function in the same capacity, in the same way, in the hearing world.
So
without
this
device.
has changed your life, basically.
No question about it.
Well, we will do our best to get you a superb device and make sure that you'll never be without.
That'd be great.
Thanks, Sherry.